Well, it's 8:05, Lev. I reckon you could make a start actually.
Sure, all right. I'll just wrap this thing with Cormac so that he knows that it's happening
Okay,
right now, and then we go.
cool.
All right. So, hello, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be with you today. Hey, Johan, nice to see you.
Good to see you, Jon.
Thank you, nice to see you as well. So, we'll be talking today about beliefs, and if this is your first time hearing about the subject, I think you'll enjoy this. I know for me, it has been a couple months now that I've been working on these things, and once you realize the power that at first they hold on you and how you can reformat yourself, I think you'll enjoy the capacity that you have within yourself to be able to reprogram anything. So before we start, just a little bit of background story about myself. I've been training ever since I've been 18 years old. I'm 24 years old now. At 18 years old, I made 3 times my money. I was super excited, thought I'd be a millionaire by the end of the year. Of course, as you guessed, this is not what happened. I ended up blowing not only one, but several accounts. I traded equities, I traded Forex, I traded Bitcoin, I traded, what else? I traded even the penny stocks, even the sub penny stocks. So I tried quite a few things. And until at a certain point, I decided that, it doesn't make sense. I can't continue like this. I went away from trading for a good year and a half. And then after paying all my debts off, I told myself, this is it. Now I got to get serious about trading. And that's when I got involved into a meetup group, which Johan is also a part of here in Montreal, Canada. And I actually got the opportunity to hear about NeuroTrader through the meetup. And now it's been a year and a half that I've been very consistently trading with a good discipline, with a good system. And in the 6 months that I've been doing it every single day, when I started, I ended up with a 68.7 win rate, which was great. It was the first time since forever that I had been profitable. Now I'm break even, being on my own. It's always a little bit tougher to be on your own than in a team. So of course now I'm back to break even, and I look forward to being profitable, not only again, but being profitable so that I may live from trading. That's a little bit about myself, and this is the progress I'm on now that I'd like to share with you today that I'll think that you'll enjoy. The power of believing and how beliefs shapes our life, whether or not we are aware of it. So what's a belief? It's important that we know what's a belief before we start. And a belief is simply, again, the word says it, right? It's something we believe in. And that's how we interpret reality. So whatever we see happening in life, that's a pair of goggles that we're wearing. And whenever a situation happens, we interpret that situation that confirms our belief. We're always gathering evidence. And I'll further on during the presentation, I'll go an example where we do that even in trading. Actually, trading is the best place where we realize how much we are shaped by our beliefs and how much we actually like to confirm ourselves. And a good example of that is actually a good story. There was a study done in the 70s and the 80s where what they did is that they had a man, gave him a board on which it was written, free money, ask me how much you want. And they sent this guy off in the street, and he stood there for whatever, I don't remember how many hours, but I think it was for a couple hours. And as you can imagine, what happened is that not only did no one ask him for free money, but the only person that did was a homeless person that asked for a quarter for his bus pass. And why I'm sharing this story with you is because then they asked after they had passed the person who was showing the board, why didn't you ask for free money? You had the opportunity to ask for free money. And the people would say, we don't believe free money exists. And until we start questioning those beliefs govern our lives. We are so convinced in what we believe in that the opposite for us does not exist unless we're open to it. And so for myself, I learned that whenever, we go into a debate or an argument with someone, we're essentially just exchanging belief systems. Hence the saying, birds of a feather flock together. It's rare that we'll see someone that has a certain belief system, let's say someone that believes, in abundance, someone that is wealthy, someone that has access to all the resources in the world, someone that is very well off financially. It's rare that you'll see that sort of person with someone who believes that, wealth is scarce, that you got to fight for it, that you've got to hustle, that you've got to, sacrifice things, that you've got to work 80 hours a week. It's very rare. Why? It's simply belief systems. And of course, I'm giving an example that's very common, but even in ourselves, right? We can think of friends, we can think of family. Whenever we run into an argument, belief system are different. So the moment we understand that, for myself, it was truly just a lesson. I said, you know what? We can't convince anyone because we'll always look for evidence to confirm that our belief is true. And it is true. We'll do everything. Someone that believes everyone is lying, let's say, well, of course, that person will always look for people that are liars. And then we'll say, you see, I knew I was right. There are liars out there, which is true because that's what we do. And those are some examples of our of beliefs that we may as people have, or that you may have heard people have as well. So anything is possible. I always end up being the best in whatever I undertake. Politicians are all liars. That's especially coming from Eastern Europe. My parents, I'm sure you can relate to that. Well, even in the general, that's a big belief that a lot of us may have, and I'm saying us because that's a belief that's been very common in where I grew up. So politicians are all liars. Always mess things up when things are going well. Money is bad. That's another big one. Religion, guilt is very, very huge on money being bad. And if we don't question that, then of course we'll have none of it. There's good everywhere in the world, and you got the opposite side of a spectrum, right? Those of us that believe that everything is just dandy and fine, and we're looking at the world with a very optimistic view, which is fine as well. Again, it's a belief. Women are crazy. That's one thing as men that we may have said, sometimes. I'm sure I'm smiling right now because I just remember myself or even some friends that would say, oh, women are all crazy. Or the opposite that we may hear women say, men are all players. Mistakes are bad. That's another good one where we've grown so accustomed with society, with ourselves, thinking that mistakes are bad, and of course we project that onto the market. So when we get stopped out, what happens? We beat ourselves thinking, oh man, another mistake, I'm not good. So, and a final one, I'll always feel good whenever I do my morning workout. Basically, a belief is anything we believe in. Anything. The moment we say, I think, or even me talking, everything I'm saying now is a belief in itself, right? And that's a slide that I like. The Matrix has you. I'm sure, or I hope everyone here has seen the movie The Matrix. I think it's an excellent movie. I've seen it recently again. And the parallel I want to make with Matrix is that, going back to what we were talking about how beliefs shape our lives, that's exactly what, to me, it seems that's exactly what they're talking about in the Matrix. When we're in the box, right? The box is our beliefs. And if we don't question our beliefs, well, then we stay in a box. So therefore, we stay in the Matrix. And maybe after seeing this presentation, you'll be inspired to watch the movie again and see it from that perspective. I checked the movie again recently, really from that perspective, and I could see how, to me, it seems that the Matrix is this. It's simply being so certain in a belief that there can be no alternative to it. And until we question it, then of course we are bound by the matrix. We are chained with illusory chains that don't really exist. It's like an elephant. You tell him he's small his whole life, he'll believe he's small against a simple mice, because that's what he's been told all his life, right? So it's the same thing here. And that's where we go into the meaty part of the presentation, the limiting beliefs. So not only are limiting beliefs essentially beliefs, beliefs can be, most of the time beliefs are very neutral. If I say something like, yeah, I believe that every time I work out I feel good. That's fine, That's an okay belief. But limiting beliefs, they're limiting because there's a big inner conflict between, and we don't know they're limiting beliefs until we start questioning them, right? So it takes a lot of inner work. So limiting beliefs, they block us from obtaining that which we truly desire inside of us, right? I think all of us here want to become, or are already, consistently profitable traders. And the simple reason why we're not, or that we are, if one of us here is already consistently profitable, that's great. But the only reason why we're yet not consistently profitable is simply because we got shit inside of us. And I dare say the word shit, because it's really what it is. A limiting belief will not help us get that which we want, which is to become a consistently profitable trader. And that's an example, of course. So the emotional pain, and we'll get into that, where what happens, right, in a trading example. And that's the beauty of this, I think, and I hope we all see the potential of this, is that we can project this into every situation in our lives. But if we take the trading example, so emotional pain, right? And that goes back to childhood, right? We do something, so we have an expectation. I expect that I can, let's say, I can grab my mother's pen, whatever, that's just an example. I can expect that as a child I can grab my mother's pen, but what happens is that I get yelled at, right? So bam, right there's an emotional pain that's being created. The reality is I was just grabbing a pen, right? But what happened is that I created this emotional pain. And so the belief that I created at this point, that's an example, of course, is that I am not going to grab someone else's stuff. From that point on, because what happens? If I grab someone else's stuff, I'm going to get yelled at. And the earlier it comes to our lives, the more challenging it may be to let go of later on. And of course, we confirm everything. We as a belief, it's so powerful that we'll do all the confirmation work to make sure it is true. So every time, let's say, going back to the example of grabbing something, we'll do everything to make sure that when we grab a pen, when we grab something, we get yelled at. And if we do it just to sort of, challenge the belief, we'll be scared, we'll be fearful, but we won't even know why we're fearful. We're fearful because of our belief, not because we're fearing, but because of the underlying belief. That is where it becomes interesting, and I hope resonates with all of us in terms of the trading. So the belief that on the left side, you see being wrong is bad, or making mistakes is bad, right? Some of us would rather not have a stop loss than be stopped, because being stopped means that we're wrong. And the emotional pain, the amount of pain that we've associated with one of these things is so big that every time we get stopped out, well, then we tap into that well of pain, right? So another belief, price must go up. Price is going down, but because we're believing that price must go up, then we're fighting. We're fighting against reality. And what is the reality? The reality is we're getting stopped out, or we're wrong. Getting stopped out is in itself not a problem, because one could say that we're actually right when we're getting stopped out. We just weren't clear enough in the direction we were going. But it's the underlying emotional that we're tapping into that hurts. It's because, and I'm sure we've all done that. I know from myself, I've definitely done it, where I get stopped out and then I think to myself, man, trading is not for me. I can't succeed as a trader. That's when, all these things come out. All these things come out. And the more we do this work, the more we realize these things are a blessing, because in tough situations like trading the marketplace, the shit comes out easier, right? So everything that we hear, all the talk that comes out, is the talk that we continually tell ourselves, or the beliefs that we have, right? So now whenever that happens to me, I catch myself at it, or at least I try my best. It's to be patient and compassionate with ourselves. And so, because we associate and have so much pain to being wrong, then getting stopped out is one of the worst things that can happen to us. And that's why most of us do not become consistently profitable trader, because the pain is so big because of our underlying limiting beliefs of thinking, if I get stopped out, that means I'm a bad trader. That's the association we've created in ourselves, and we think it is true because it feels bad, right? So if it feels shit, then it must be true. So we're confirming that. Another example that we're doing whilst we're trading, price is going a little bit up, but clearly price is going down. So what we do, we tell ourselves, oh, you see, but price is going up. So you see, next tick, that means price is going up. That's confirmation. We're looking to confirm our beliefs. And if I may suggest, next time we trade, let's catch ourselves at it. If we clearly see that price is going a direction, and then we tell ourselves it's going, of course, against what we've planned, against what we've executed, and we start having that inner talk which goes, that's it, now it's going up. If we were long but price is going down, or the opposite, okay, now it's going down, but clearly price is just consolidating and then continuing to go up. The moment we start catching ourselves at these things, that's when we can shortcut the process and make it easier for all of us. And to do this, and I'll go at the end of the presentation how we can do this, the process, what it requires, and that's actually what I'm going to talk about now, the requirements as far as how to reformat ourselves. With neuroplasticity, with just being able to question everything, we've got to be willing to question everything we believe in. Is what I believe in the truth, or is it my truth, right? The markets are going up, but I believe the markets must go down. The reality is the markets are going up, so why should I believe that the markets must go down? That's crazy. That's like saying today it's nighttime, but outside it's sunny. Yet how many of us do it? How many of us look at price and think to ourselves, this is it. This is the last time price, whatever goes down or goes up, when clearly it's doing exactly the opposite of what we believe in. And of course, then we get stopped out, taps into our emotional well of pain. We get frustrated, start again, and then either give up or we start to question. We're like, could I potentially be wrong? Could I just not see things the way that they are? And that, I think, that is the moment where, like, I know for me, that's when the little switch happens. Like, okay, then I'm going to question everything I believe in. That takes patience. There's some beliefs, and we're going to talk about what is a charged belief later on. And at the end of the presentation, I'll actually write down, if some of you are interested, in some books that are concerning this very subject that I think you will enjoy. And being patient with ourselves. Some beliefs are charged, so there's resistance. Whenever we think of something else concerning those beliefs, in our mind, in our head, we're thinking it's not possible. The opposite does not exist. We're so convinced that the opposite does not exist because that belief is so ingrained in us that merely to question it creates resistance within, right? And we all know how resistance feels. We feel it inside of us. It feels tense. It feels not right, because it's being challenged. And so there's one of either two things that we can do. Either we protect it, so we go into an argument, or I think the wiser option is just to say, all right, Is there anything from me here that I can learn of? What is it that I'm running up against here? Because when it's smooth, let's talk, if we go back to the beliefs, when the beliefs are smooth, so when we're surrounded by people that have all the same beliefs as us, it's rare that we'll run into arguments, but we'll run into, I'm saying argument, but I'm talking about people, but it can be against the market, right? So the market is doing something, and we're believing in something, and then we feel that same tension, and we're like, what is it? That's because our belief is not corresponding to what is happening in the market. And that takes patience. It takes self-compassion. The paradox here is to start judging what we believe in. It's like, oh man, how could I believe in this? And then, make it worse. But here is just to accept everything and really just be patient with ourselves. Give ourselves time. For me, it's been a year and a half. I've been consistent, and I'm, really starting to get the hang of this. But again, let's be patient with ourselves. And for some of you guys, it may be super quick, and for some of us, it may take longer, which is fine. It's very fine. That's an example of I know for myself, that's where I'm going now, and just giving it out there that it's possible, because the slide that I showed earlier was my beliefs before, and I'm sure many of us beliefs, or many of the traders' beliefs. And now, after going through all this process, that's what my new beliefs are, and that I'm working towards to really incorporate into my life and into my trading. So my beliefs, as you can see, for me, good trading is not so much about being right or wrong anymore. It's about putting the odds in my favor. I have no control over the outcome. Derek, if I may give the example of what you told me earlier about you going 7 pips, that I think is a good example. Derek had a very good trade where I'm sure he put all the odds in his side, in his favor, and his trade went 7 pips his way, right? And that's an excellent trade. But unfortunately, he got stopped out, and his profit target was 10 pips. Now, there's 2 situations which can happen in this instance. I'm sure if it was me before, I would bash myself, and I'd be like, oh man, why didn't I take it at 7? Why did I hesitate? But another take on this is simply to say, listen, I actually did very well. I traded in a direction the market was going. It gave me 7 pips. All right, if there's anything for me to learn, I'll see what I can learn, and that is it. I'm sure you guys feel the difference here, where in the example of Derek's trade, he did everything right. I'm pretty sure he did everything correctly. He even put all the odds in his favor. But we just can't control what the markets are going to do. We never know what the next tick is going to be. And the moment we start really understanding that we have absolutely no control over the next tick, that's when it becomes easier. That's when getting stopped out is not as painful anymore. That's when we actually see the market for what it is, which is just for me, that's a belief, of course. For me, I simply believe the markets are an infinity of people just making different decisions. So it would be foolish for me to think that me sitting down here in Montreal, Canada, and going back at my parents' house, to think that I can predict what the next tick is going to be. Yet how many of us do it? There is no way we can predict what the market is going to do. But the good thing we can do, however, that is in our control, is to put the odds on our side. And what it means to put the odds on our side? Having a system, having a consistency, having a discipline, and most of all, just doing what the market is doing. For me, the belief is very simple now. I buy long what goes up and I short what goes down. That's as simple as it is. Before it was like, all right, this is it. This is the area where there's going to be resistance, and then it's going to reverse, so I'm going to take a trade just before it reversing. And then, of course, as you know, just price continues going up, and then I get stopped out. But instead of this, I just tell myself, I'm just going to do what price is telling me, and I will go in the way price is going. I've been doing that, since like beginning of November now. I am flat since November, but my inner world right now is even a lot more better than it was now. I know that even on the trades that I get stopped out on, I'm telling myself, it's okay, I did good, I placed the odds in my favor, And well, I just can't control the market. And yet there were some opportunities to learn. You know, I did hesitate a couple times. There were one or two trades that had I not hesitated, would be take profit. So that's an example how reformatting our beliefs makes us shift everything. And going through hell and back every time, you know, something happens in a market, we just look at it from a perspective that is advantageous to us and that is simply good for our well-being. And so how do we go about that? Of course, how do we go about reformatting our beliefs? I think we're all looking forward to that. The method that I use, that's a method recommended by Van Tarp. Van Tarp is a trading psychologist, which some of you may have heard of. He's an excellent man. I recommend his book strongly. And I'm actually reading his other book right now, Super Trader, which was also recommended. I'm going to give some more recommendations at the end if you guys are open to them. And so the method that I use for the beliefs that are in this, of course, is not just trading. This can be any belief that we have. Anything we believe in can be put into question. And I absolutely mean everything. Of course, that takes self-awareness. So as you're thinking these beliefs, to catch ourselves at it and to question them. I know myself, whenever I have a belief now, if I don't have a notepad nearby, I'll look for one and just jot it down and say, all right, this is my belief. And this is the format that I use. So what's the old belief? What's the belief that I had? In my example, making a mistake is bad, right? And then, where does it come from? To identify it, its origin. You'll come to realize that most of your beliefs don't even come from you. You realize that most of the things you believe in, when you start questioning them, don't even come from you. And for me, the realization was, wow, how much shit do I carry around, you know? How much shit do we as people carry around that come from either family, that come from the society, that come from the environment we were born in? So much things that we can simply let go of and reformat ourselves. So, where does it come from? For me, it was society teaching me that whenever I make a mistake, I get punished. That's the association that was created in me. How is this limiting me? I'm scared of making mistakes, taking risks, and I hardly learn because I don't take any risks. Going back to the example of the free money, right? If we believe free money doesn't exist, well, then of course we'll never have it because we'll do everything to confirm our belief that free money doesn't exist. And that's just another example. There's millions of examples, right? Another one that we as men can do sometimes is to say that women are crazy, right? So we'll, of course, always go to the most unstable women because, hey, women are crazy, so that's our belief. So we want to confirm our belief. And to give another example on the market, of course, price must go up, price is going down, but price must go up because I said so. That's a belief. And can I let go? That's a good question. That's a very good question. You just write it down and you know right away if you can let go of that belief now, or do you have to work on it? Because as we'll see on the next slide, there's some beliefs that are simply harder to let go of. It's not impossible, but it takes a little bit more work, a little bit more consistent work. And then you write down what you would like to believe. And that is very personal. Every one of us here wants to believe things that are good for us, so that's very personal. That's the belief that I wrote down. I would like to believe that making mistakes is human, fine, and even necessary in order to learn and become the trader I want to become. So going back from price must go up or being wrong is bad to thinking that, you know, it's okay to be wrong, it happens, we can't control it, and that I can't control the markets. I'm sure you guys see this, at least I know for myself, it was really eye-opening, which is like, man, this is it. I'm really letting go on this stress that I was carrying about myself, which really allows me to concentrate on the trading, not worry about, you know, am I going to be right or wrong? Of course, it's always fun to get your profit target hit, and it's always a little bit less fun to get stopped out, but it's not the same. I'm sure if Ken gets to log in tonight, I'm sure he can attest to you how very hard I was on myself when I was getting stopped out. was like, oh man, I can trade, I can do this, da 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 da. And yet here I am a year and a half later, simply because I, first of all, believed in myself, and because I gave myself a chance. And now we're going to go into the beliefs that are a little bit more challenging to let go of. And we all have those beliefs that are a little bit more challenging to let go of. For myself, was one of these are mistakes are bad. Another one is money is bad, right? Growing up in an Eastern European family, the belief that was very common in the family that I grew up in was that, those that have money are either all liars or bandits. So you can imagine growing up, me who wants to be a consistently profitable trader, yet I have this underlying, very, very limiting belief that money is going to do everything not to get any of it. And that creates even more emotional pain because, hey, I want to be profitable, I want to be a consistently profitable trader, and yet here I am believing that money is bad. So that's a huge barrier. But thanks to this process, I'm able to start working on it. And the charge beliefs, that's where I recommend. Some of us may be already doing it, some of us may not be, but I just ask for your openness on this. I know that for me it took a long time to start being open to things like meditation, to things like accepting it. It's something that we're not used to, or if we are, that's great. But if we just, going back to the question of beliefs, if we don't believe in that, then of course some of you may feel resistant. But if you're open to it, then that means it may be easier. Yet it's not impossible for any of us. I was one of the guys who for a long time would think that this stuff doesn't work, but I decided to try it anyway. And how it works, simple. What I did yesterday was simply sit down. Now, it requires patience, right? So you simply sit down for an hour and you completely let yourself reminisce what it is that is frustrating for you. I know for myself it was doubt that I can make it as a consistently profitable trader. So what I did yesterday was that I simply sat down on my chair, no music, no computer, nothing running, closed my eyes, and I really started remembering where that doubt came from. And as you can imagine, it came from the family, right? From the belief that, money is bad and traders that are successful are all insiders. That's some of the beliefs that were shared in the family. So of course the doubt that I have inside of me came from those underlying beliefs, those limiting beliefs. And I really started to feel the doubt and really start to immerse yourself in it, really let it grow inside of you instead of keeping it at arm's length. Because being aware of it is not enough. Being aware of something, how meditation in today's, we talk a lot about self-awareness, being aware of things. I think that's good. That's a very good step first. Just simply being aware is a fantastic step. And for me, at least, I realized that the next step is to actually not only recognize what it is you're thinking about, but actually submerge yourself in it. So the feeling that's associated with the belief, so doubt, right? Doubt feels differently for all of us. For me, it was simply like a knot in my stomach. I really felt like around my stomach area, it was hard, right? And I really let that feeling grow inside of me. And of course, after 15, 20 minutes, it starts to dissipate. Right? I did the whole hour, and I'm giving myself time. It's not like a quick miracle thing. It's not gonna be going away in a minute. I guess the proof that you can say is that today I traded successfully. I was so convinced that price wasn't going to go up, but then I caught myself at it where I'm like, listen, let's see what price is doing, and I ended up going short. So that was a good example of that. And that's how we work with charged beliefs. Charged beliefs are just a little bit more challenging to work, but it's not impossible. We just got to accept everything we feel. You know, how many things that, you know, whether it's someone or something that has upset us, angered us, where we feel pain, that we just hide it away, or we just repress it because we think it's bad, it doesn't have to come to the surface. Well, guess what? It always comes back. It always comes back. Sometimes maybe not in a form we'd like to, you know, like body pain, headaches, things like that. It always comes back. So I think that the quicker we start accepting what happens inside of us, the quicker we can become the consistently profitable traders we all want to become. Because, for me, at least, I'm sharing my belief. A good trader is simply someone who is in the flow. A good trader is someone who follows what happens in the market. He doesn't try to predict. He doesn't try to convince anyone. He just does what's happening. And I think the best way to do it is to start with ourselves. If we can't even accept what happens inside of us, there's no way we can start accepting what happens in the market. And on that note, that's a very symbolic scene, which, if you remember at the beginning of the Matrix, so the choice is yours. Do you continue to believe what it is you believe in? And if it's helping you, that's great. But if you believe that it's possible that you can do more than what you have right now, well then yes, it's possible. It's just up to you to make the choice. So do you take the red pill or do you take the blue pill? The red pill, the thing you're going to get is the truth. That means you're coming out of the box that we've created upon ourselves, coming out of the matrix, coming out of all these limitations that we've imposed in our lifetimes, and starting to question everything until you question no more. That's the beauty of it, is that you'll become so certain because all the beliefs that you've created are now yours that you don't even need to question anything anymore. Or do you take the blue pill, not question anything, remain exactly as you are right now, and simply continue to believe what it is that you believe? If that's helping you, that's fine, really. And I mean this from the bottom of my heart. If that's helping you, that's great. But I think that if we're all here, that's because we want to become consistently profitable traders. I believe that we can. We simply have to question what it is we believe in inside of us and accept everything inside of us. So that about wraps it up. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I really love your commentary on this, your feedback, your questions if you have any. I'd love to share my journey concerning all this. And yeah, these are all our social media links: Facebook, official website, Meetup, managed by our amazing and lovely Derek. I always tell him he's the official face of NeuroTrader. And that at the end is our YouTube channel, which for now is a bit.ly link. And yeah.
Yeah, thanks for that, Lev. That's really good.